What does it mean to come out, and to come out on national television? DeRossi subtly articulates a difference between Ellen's 1997 coming out and Ellen's current daily dance into America's living rooms as a beloved daytime talk show host who happens to be gay. LGBT activists and media critics slightly disagree, asserting that Ellen may be soft-pedaling her lesbianism on Ellen. DeGeneres avoids the topic of her own homosexuality and actively closes down on conversation in which a very word or concept comes up. What we have to understand about Ellen is that her career all but collapsed not long after the glow of her public coming out party died down. What we see is that Ellen demonstrates queerness through her stand-up jokes and sit-down talk, and physically through the ritual action of her daily dance sequence. Being in the closet and being out are performances that are constantly negotiated socially, either actively resisted or reinscribed rather than one-time denials or declarations of sexuality that hold. Anna McCarthy suggests that perhaps queer visibility on television is only permissible as spectacle. It can be described as a media event that is a one-time, idiosyncratic phenomenon that acts as an expectation to the usual rules of both television flow and content, and if planned, is often surrounded by quite a bit of promotional hype. A media ritual, however, is also temporarily upends and stretches convention, maybe only to reinstate it. However, it is less outwardly eventful. In fact, it gradually becomes perceived as part of the normal flow, and signifies through repetition over time or through multiple broadcasts. One punctuates the Nielsen ratings and the other has the potential to slowly rather than rapidly shift consciousness through a process of slow audience acclimation to and reinforcement of difference. What we see is that Ellen's queerness is accessible via her dance. Ellen's lesbianism is palpable in her dancing. Her body is on display that is seemingly to look heteronormative. Even looking as butch as Ellen does is denoted as a lesbian dancing alone. However, we have to know there's no monolithic queerness to dance. Prior precedents of Ellen expressing herself physically, whether through physical humor or through dance, not only does her opening dance with herself, and thus the viewer, represent a daily declaration of queer identity, but that she has previously coded to mean exactly that. She is taking agency in how her sexuality is expressed. Heterosexual relationship endeavors are exaggerations and can be read as queer, as seen in the show Ellen. We see episodes where she's dancing alone in the elevator or a closeted queer person, and she says, is possibly happy without a man. And we see in this episode the date goes wrong because Ellen is shown as just weird, not as queer. And that episode is called The Fix-Up. Ellen often expresses what her desire is not. By a denial of heterosexual desire for one person does not necessarily imply homosexuality. She sometimes passes as straight, such as her crush on Jake Gyllenhaal, and she's simply skirting around the issue. If skirting is DeGeneres' verbal strategy for at least on the surface, distancing her comedy from the bodily and from her body and material consequences of the world, while leaking other meanings. DeGeneres' physical displays, especially her dances, convey and rely on her utter embodiment, the body engaged in ritual. Her strategy is to remove herself from the confessional paradigm, wherein an implied authority outside of herself is the implied judge or cheerleader of her private life. Ellen performs her daily dances, illustrating both her control over what is expressed and her pleasure in expressing it. Her daily dances also becomes a boundary-crossing ritual shared with all, where she encourages others to join her to get up and dance themselves.